This is Mind Your Body, a dance movement therapy perspective on the integration of our emotional, cognitive, physical, and spiritual aspects of our being into one more aware and whole existence. All right, so we're on, and I want to say a huge welcome to you, Marci Javril. I got a message from you on Saturday, I believe, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, are you my twin? I said that to you. And I want you to introduce yourself so that people understand why, because I've been a little more active with showing my hooping skills, and just give a little bit of a background about who you are and what you are interested in talking about today.
Well, I'm Marci Javril. That's my stage name, so there's only one Javril. And I am a trained dancer. I started dancing when I was 8 or 10 and spent my whole childhood and 20s and 30s dancing. And I'm trained in dance therapy, too. I picked up the hoop in 2003, so I was like 52 years old at that time. And I started waist hooping. And I realized that it was just an amazing tool for expression. And the longer I did it, the more I thought, man, this is a transitional object. You know, in dance therapy, we call it a transitional object because I'm able to put myself over here and identify here and give movement, emotion, and story to something else. And then self-reflect. And I mean, it makes me emotional right now because I love hooping. Hooping is amazing. And I'm 67 now. So I feel like I had stopped aging when I started hooping because of the beginner's mind, because of the full body awakening that happens from it. Because not only is it core, it's cardio, it's creativity, it's balance, it's right left brain, it's just so many things at once, and it's something to share with everyone. And so I got very excited about sharing it, and I just started, like, everybody who came by my space was like, here, try this, do this, be this. And it didn't matter if they could do it around their waist or not. If you could just pick it up and move it in time and space, everyone gets this child delight out of it. And the joy factor just goes up. And if you can find something that makes you joyful while it also keeps you healthy, you should keep doing it.
Yeah, I can definitely see like how joyful and alive you are just talking about your hoops and just seeing you right now. I love that you said that about seeing everyone pick it up, because I've been at events where there's just a huge range of people, like age and gender and color and everything. And everyone will just be drawn to these plastic circles and try it. And everyone's just enjoying it and laughing, even if they can't, right?
So yeah, they love to do selfies. And I love it when I go to a big event like KCRW, our radio station, has a big event for the community, and my girlfriend Jennifer Jensen, Eclectic Hoops, always brings her hoops, and you see these people, they hand the hoop to the guy, right, and he tries it and they're taking a selfie of him. Everybody's trying and laughing, but then some people will come over to you and ask seriously, how do I really do this, and here and there you'll start a conversion and you'll start a movement of awareness for those people who never even tried it, didn't even think it was possible, and thought those were passé, right? They're like current events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a lot of dance therapists and other kinds of therapists who listen to this podcast, and also people who are just generally interested in moving their bodies for, greater mental health and self-compassion and all those things. If we focus a little bit more on the therapist side, how do you see that hoops can be brought, not just hoops, but also other flow arts and flow toys? How can they be brought into this either therapy process or a therapeutic process?
Well, I was invited to do my other specialty besides dancing is lymphatic massage. And I've developed something I call brain cleanse massage for the head. And it's about lymph and moving all the gunk out of your head. And so I presented it at the Expressive Therapy Summit twice. And those are all like psychologists and art therapy, dance therapy, music therapy, drum therapy, theater therapy. And I'm there going, flow therapy, it's like the next wave of where the expressive arts therapy needs to go. Because it's a prop. Because all these other therapies have props, like art has color props and fabric, and theater has costumes, and drumming has the drummer. The flow arts is another prop of interaction and communion, not just with self, but with other, and sharing. It just, for me, it was an explosion of ideas to go to this therapy summit and see all these very willing creative arts therapists doing this diligent, wonderful, meticulous work. And I thought, more joy factor. Can we just bring in some scarves and wave them around, or poi and spin them around? And because here's the other point for me, I took a lot of classes about autistic or spectrum disorders and disabilities, all kinds of, and schizophrenic behavior. These are the population demographics that will benefit so much from the flow arts, because it gives them something to hold. It gives them my hoop, my relationship. And you got to have a relationship with an other for self-reflection. And when you're a therapist and you want your client to go home and continue the work on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point with the relationship with the hoop. Is like, how are you, like, you can flow with the hoop, you can flow against it. I tend to blame the hoop for things that I can't do. And so like there's room for projection there. And, how would one, like, if someone listening to this now would go and pick up a hoop tomorrow, what could they do? What would they do that would be helpful for them to do on their own? And of course, it's not just on their own, because there is that community piece.
Well, the hoop, for one thing, it doesn't have to be around the waist. And that's the main point I want to give everybody is, if you want to do it around the waist, that's great for your core. And don't forget that it's a circle, right? And if you had a pencil and a circle, and you wanted that circle to go around, you would make the pencil go back and forth like this, right? And that would make the hoop go around. Mm-hmm. So just remember that you are the pencil in the hoop. So if you want to make that hoop move, you actually have to be solid. It's not about wiggle. So the thing about hooping is it's all about physics. It's to make the hoop move properly, it's a physics experiment. And the emotion comes in when you surprise yourself and you try a trick that has leverage that takes you somewhere different. And so that's why it's such a great mix, is you can try mechanical things with it. But then if you let go of the mechanical and you let emotion come in, you'll surprise yourself and a trick will happen. Mm. And I will take little tiny children who can't even hold the hoop and just have them hold the hoop standing up on the ground and walk through it, or spin it around, or drag it around themselves, or put it in the air and wave it like it's a flag, a signal flag. So using a hoop as a prop, just think of it as like a circular sword. That's what I like to call it. And I like to use it then in martial arts. We use that really more quick movement. And sometimes we think of the hoop as being more like liquid and girly and feminine. Not necessarily. You can make that hoop really sharp and move quickly and have sudden, geometric movements, and especially if you start using more than one. So
I'm hearing that it really is and can be a tool for exploring a wide range of expressive language and movement, which is what we do as dance therapists. We help people, explore their full range, and in turn, it helps them explore their full potential and behavior and thoughts and feelings and emotions. And the populations you mentioned and more, it's so hard, especially when so new, to just move your body in general. Like there's a lot of fear with that. There's emotions that come up pretty quickly. And so to have the prop, right, to have something that supports this exploration and this self-discovery.
The prop doesn't talk back to you and say, you didn't do it right.
Right.
It might fall. It might roll down the hill.
Well, we can project at, like, I know I do this. You can project what your hoop says to you, but right, like when it flies out of my hand and it's like, you didn't hold on to me very well, So yeah, it won't actually talk back to you, but you can see, I can see a lot of my inner talk coming out through the hoop.
But so that's, again, a really good point as a therapist, looking for the client to have self-reflection. You can see that, we constantly personify things. So even if it's a mirror, you talk to the mirror like it's, or a plant or a pillow, like, oh, pillow, come on, stop being so stiff, So personifying things is our way for self-reflecting. So of course, and that's really important. But the point about hoops and props and flow arts in general is the diversity. The possibilities are really endless. Like poi, I'm not sure if people know what poi is, but it's a ball on a string. Mm-hmm. And it actually comes from ancient New Zealand, and the Maori tribe used that as a way of learning to train for martial arts. And they used the poi to strengthen their wrists for sword fighting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the women do the poi in the Maori. You should look that up on YouTube sometime because it's astounding what they do, and they bounce them and everything. But that's the other thing that comes from the hoop, knowing, and all these props. You don't have to have the physical ability to stand up and be on your feet and move your core. So this can be for handicapped people in a wheelchair, for people who can only use their feet. Props are something that can be so adaptable to whatever, like I say, the physics of it. So you're going to put momentum and energy and emotion, and it's going to move in a direction, and it may be purposeful or it may be surprising, but there's your interaction.
Right.
And that's what we want, is we want interaction with our environment to bring about more the neurosynapse coming in, the eye-hand coordination, all that brain activity, the skin contact. Let's not forget skin contact. How many of these autistic and otherwise displaced people that we may be dealing with in populations, are they getting touch? Are they getting nurturing touch? So maybe when they do the poi or the contact staff, like I have a staff here that I roll on my body, and the hoop also feels like a massage. This kind of touch is also really important. So all the sensations are happening.
Yeah. And when you talked about seeing, like I was thinking about the impact that you see you're making, especially with, a bright colored prop, like a bright colored hoop, for example, and you can just see the impact that you're making with your body. And even that in itself can be powerful. And I wanted to ask you about, we were talking a little bit about this before we pressed record, but lately there's a lot of competition and emphasis on, improving in the flow arts community. It's so apparent. It's really present. So how would you support someone in a therapeutic process to, not really, to make it more therapeutic and more about the process versus the product and how it looks and how many tricks can I nail and how much can I learn and can I be better than other people and all that kind of stuff.
That's striving. That place where people think that once they learn a skill, then there's a striving that has to happen with it. And that's why I always laugh when people, like I said earlier before we press record, people watch me hooping, in public or something, and they come, "Oh, you're so amazing. Where do you perform?" I go, "Performing. This is for me. This is just what I do as my hobby of being delighted in life. And if it delights you to watch me, that's wonderful." But so I guess that's kind of what I would like to see more people say to themselves and to the people watching them. This is for me. If you're watching, that's fine. I don't mind you watching. But I'm not really doing it for you. And in fact, I remember at a fire circle one time, there was a photographer there, and I was trying a couple new skills, and I was repeating a few of them, but then I would just, if I didn't get him, I didn't nail him, I'd just move on. And the photographer goes, "Oh, try that again." And I looked at him and I said, "No." And he said,
"Not for you."
Huh? And I was like, this is my practice, and you're here on your own, so you catch what you do, and I'm not doing. If I was doing a photo shoot, I'd say, yeah, try it again, but I'm not doing a photo shoot. So I guess that could be like a little sideline you could say to yourself. I'm not doing a photo shoot. Nobody's here documenting my mistakes or my skill level. I'm here to concentrate on what I can do with myself on my own and in the space that it is. And I guess what I tend to do is when people think to compliment me, I always put myself in the middle. I go, well, I'm not a beginner, but I'm not the highest level of skill either. So I'm right there in the middle. I'm just having fun. And I think that people need to do that more often with wherever they are. If they're a swimmer, if they're a dancer, if they're American Ninja Warrior, which I'm addicted to watching. Crazy, right? I look at their upper arm strength and I go, damn. But, so each person, this idea of competition. The reason I think I like American Ninja Warrior better than some of these other things is they're not really competing against each other. They're competing with themselves. Yeah. And I think if you understand all of the things you're doing as activities that you're enjoying for yourself instead of trying to put on a mat next to somebody else or in a swim lane next to somebody else or in the, in the competition next to somebody else. Don't put yourself next to anybody else. Just be in your own circle. And how to do that is you really have to be in beginner's mind a lot of times. We talked about that too. Because being in beginner's mind means that you know nothing and you're being taught by yourself in your own environment. And it means that you want to start all over. And starting all over means that you have no skill. So if you can get there as often as possible, instead of saying, I know what I'm doing, then you'll be in the therapeutic place. Mm. So, and I think that's the distinction. To be in your therapeutic space is to have no expectation, to allow surprise, and to have beginner's mind. Hmm. That kind of answer it? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is so relevant to my world right now as a dance therapist. And I'm going to say it because maybe it is to other people who are listening, wherever, like if you're a dance therapist or whatever career you're in or whatever you're pursuing, is I'm building my business and I'm trying to see how to fit dance therapy into the business or the business into dance therapy. And like part of the strategy is, being an expert on what you are and what you help people do. And that's just a strategy that I'm finding more and more like I can't agree with that, right? Because that's the total opposite of beginner's mind. And the essence of dance therapy is just creating a space for people to find their truth, to find whatever skills they're looking for to expand in the way that they are. And so that's how I got to fit it in together. Because what you're saying, not having the beginner's mind, it really blocks the process part of it in a way. And I had another thought as you were talking about fun and enjoyment. As creative arts therapists, especially working in public institutions, like we often get looked at as the fun people. And it bothered me a lot when I was working publicly. And I know that I'm not the only one. Because of course, like we have so much more to offer. Like we offer so much more than fun. We offer a very deep process and very important, very important work. But we do also provide fun and enjoyment. And that is what a lot of people, like even when I work with dance therapists, that is something that they say is like, I don't have enough fun or joy in my life, or I take things too seriously. And like, so even we, the fun providers, we come to that realization. And so I just wanted to say that just in case people were watching or listening and, maybe having objections to the fun part, but we do more than fun. So that's an understanding, but how it's so important. Like once I picked up my hoop and I started going to more festivals, which I know you want to talk about, it's like, wow, I'm having like this freedom and fun in my life that I maybe put to the side a little bit more when I didn't necessarily find my space.
Well, the fun factor is the carrot. That's just how you get them into the room.
Mm.
And it's okay to have a carrot, right? Mm-hmm. It's the sparkles on the, it's the envelope of art materials that have sparkles in an envelope. Now you want to come in. Well, and we're going to do art and it's going to be deep therapeutic, right? So the sparkles, the fun sparkles belong there because we all need to be persuaded. Mm-hmm. We need persuasion to do therapy, right?
To work on ourselves, we need enticement, right?
When I first got out of college and I wanted to work in, and this was in 1978, 79. Oh, and I wanted to promote myself as a dance therapist. I got a job with behavior problem kids at a facility in the Valley. And these were all acting out teenagers and stuff. And so a lot of them were boys. And when I came on board, they first called me the dance therapist. And after a while, they said, we can't call you that anymore because the boys won't come in. I said, well, just call me the play therapist. And at the time, there wasn't such a name, I don't think. But, I decided I was just going to call myself the play therapist. And they said, well, what do you do? And I said, oh, we play ball and I use props. Yeah. I used a ball and the boys would come in and I'd say, here. And then, of course, the process, I say, oh, throw the ball like you're throwing it to your mom. Oh. Well, throw the ball like you're throwing it to your buddy. Whap, right? So all of a sudden, we're having fun. I'm giving offerings to possibilities, but I'm the facilitator, okay? The fun is coming from the other person. So you, the facilitator, sometimes aren't the fun. So you need to have your own fun outside of your sessions.
Yes. And
point being that as a massage therapist, when I teach massage, I'm not getting massage. As a yoga therapist and as a yoga educator, when I'm teaching yoga, I'm not doing my own practice. So that joy factor for us as therapists can come about if we go back and in our own time, we have our joy props. So that's my punchline for you, is that not only is our flow arts great props for your therapy community, but what about
you? Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how much I've shared this publicly, but I had a hard time dancing for myself for most of the time, most of the decade almost, that I've been a dance therapist. And it wasn't until I picked up my own prop, my hoop, that I started dancing pretty much every day. Sometimes sometimes I don't, but pretty much every day. And so like all the stuff that you said in the beginning about helping people find movement and expand the repertoire through, with the help of a prop, it's like I just realized, oh yeah, that's what happened to me. That's what I did. So yeah, like it doesn't matter what you do with the hoop or whatever prop you decide to pick up. It's a way in. Yes. So
and age doesn't have anything to do with it.
That's right. Did you share your age?
I'm 67. I started hooping when I was...
Oh, you did share, yeah.
53, yeah. I feel like that stopped my aging process. But I learned all the circus arts most of them since I was 60. Right? So in the last 7 years, I've learned how to hoop with 4 hoops, hoop on my feet in a shoulder stand and a headstand, juggle with 3 balls continuously for at least a round of 40.
Wow.
Fire hoop, contact staff, rope dart. I mean, all these things you don't have to stop learning. And my mom always said, curiosity. Yeah, life is an adventure. If you stop being curious, you may as well get off the ride. Because she was a master's in library science, and she really encouraged me to be creative. Yeah. So there's a short story I want to share about my mom that is really important for people as therapists to understand too. So imagine yourself as a child, and you're in your room and you're drawing and painting and doing all kinds of stuff, and your room starts to kind of be a little bit cluttered because there's an art project and there's that and that, all this stuff. And your mom opens the door, and what does she say?
Clean up.
Guess what my mom would say? Oh, what have you been doing? Show me what you've done. Oh, do you need more paper? Mm-hmm. And I'd show her a piece of paper with like 1 check on it. And would she say, oh, you haven't drawn enough on that? No, she said, oh, do you need more paper? I have more.
Mm-hmm.
We all need moms like that.
That's beautiful.
So when you come into the cluttered room of disorder, chaos, and experimentation that all of us have, appreciate instead of delineate.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
And I think that that's why, because my mom encouraged me. She never shut me down. Mm. If I moved, I said, okay, I don't want to take piano anymore. I want to take dance. Okay. Everything was, okay, let's do that, And I don't know how she managed to do that, being a super mom, divorced with 4 kids, but she did. Wow. And all of us have come out very creatively. And so she was my first therapist, I guess, allowed. So the therapy, again, something you said earlier about being an expert. You don't, as an expert, it just gives you the authority to receive money for creating the space, and people believing that they're going to then create benefit and long-term investment in that. That's great. But there was something else we talked about in our bullet points on the email about a festival. And in the festival venue, everyone is a facilitator and everyone is a participant. Mm-hmm. That even playing ground helps you, the beginner, become the expert, because you teach me things. Because when I hand you the hoop and you put it over your head like that, I go, I've never tried that. And the reason you try it is because you've never tried anything. And so that's what I love about festivals, is that you go with an open mind and whatever prop is there. And what's great too is you have a big hoop, but somebody else has a small hoop, and you say, well, what can I do with that? Right? And somebody else has 2 little hoops. Well, what can I do with that? And that exploration and that curiosity, and then that wanting to learn, and somebody will come over and say, well, try this. We'll try this. And you'll say, oh, well, what if I do this? And they'll go, oh, yeah, that works. But if you just move your arm a little bit over, then it'll work better. Boom. You've just been treated like a beginner and they're an expert. But guess what? That exchange goes on and on and on. So you say, well, you know what? I tried it with my wrist this way, but because I'm left-handed, I needed to go like that. So now your expert knows how to teach people better. And that's what I learned, right?
Yeah.
So as you teach others and you see how they're learning, again, that's your beginner mind. Come back and say, oh, how did they learn how to do that? How did they get there from here, you know? And everybody gets there a different way. So.
That's true. Yeah. And the thing about festivals too is, even if you, for some reason, don't want to pick up any prop, I would say that still applies. Like, people are dancing in all different kinds of ways. And if you communicate and come together on that, like, you just see somebody across the grass moving a certain way, like, all right, I'm going to try that. And that can happen even without talking, without even communicating. Is there's such a variety of expression, and it's beautiful, and it's just so human, and it's such a lucky experience to be able to go and see all that and be a part of it, and also influence it too. So if you were just going to festivals to dance, it's still so powerful.
So I think that segues into what part of our bullet points were with the festivals. Now, from my point of view, the festivals are showing this growing desire for the young people to have a tribe. And, it started way back when I was in the 70s in Boulder, Colorado. I went to the first Rainbow Family gathering in Strawberry Lake. Oh my God. Right? But so we were the flower children, and we wanted cohesion. And we had it for a while, then it kind of drifted off. But I think Burning Man, and then all the offshoots from Burning Man and all the festivals are just showing more and more to me this deep desire in society for connection, and not just connection through food or camping, but through play. What happens at these festivals? They're a huge party. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of freestyle dancing, and people stand there and just dance by themselves, or they sit in a chair and just kind of listen to the music with their eyes shut, or they go crazy and they do cartwheels all over and they go into the woods, whatever. Everything is allowed, but there's a need for that. And we as therapists can see that if we're in our city jungle, that we got to bring that tribal feeling of connection somehow to our people. So our demographics need to find playgrounds to go to and safe places to be in. So I encourage all therapists to create a flow jam where you bring lots of props, go to this thing called, what is the name of that? Spirit Rising, I think it. Anyway, oh God, I wish I remembered it. Anyway, it's a flow arts free kind of networking place where you can find teachers and different people. Bring them in. Find somebody. Bring them in as a guest. Try some props. Bring in balls. Bring in socks. Bring in sticks even. Because your tribe, and bring them together. Maybe have a group. So that's the other thing that I think happens even more deeply is you can have one-on-one therapy. That's great. But when you have group therapy and you have a facilitator that's just there to hold space, not necessarily interfere or direct or guide or give anything at all, but just hold safe space, have a chill space, have music, and allow and let people pick props up and drop them and like them or not like them. And it's a very deepening experience. You could bring that whole festival sensibility and that exchange, that evenness exchange into your demographics. Wouldn't that be fabulous? We need that, don't we?
Yeah. As long as we hold the space and sustain it.
Well, I found that the drum facilitators, I think they have a good awareness of how this happens because it's all nonverbal. But they know how to control the space through rhythm.
Right.
And through bringing that dynamic down into a stillness. So that's another really great gift as a facilitator, is watching the space and seeing the chaos occur and helping it kind of fluff itself down into beginning again. And that's pretty much the only thing you need as an expert is you need to feel the room.
Yes. And know when to regulate.
You know when to regulate. Yes, and not always regulate. And for yourself too.
Yeah. So multi-layered. Yeah. Yeah.
So what else did you want to talk about today?
I think, we're out of time, but I thought it'd be fun to take like 30 seconds and just play with our props together. And show the people. But we don't really have much room, but
let's see. I'm going to see how far I can get back here.
Oh, that's nice. I don't really have any room, but I will just be here.
I've got my little hoop here.
Yeah.
And so when you take a hoop, you don't have to put it on your waist. Well, I'll put it on my waist. But these little ones go really fast, see? Ooh, then they fall down. But when it falls down, you just pick it up and put it over your head. And then grab your arms and push it over there.
Ooh, I haven't done that.
Push it up with your foot. Push it with your foot and then pull it up, I mean, use your whole body.
Right. And how your body can make different shapes within the hoop.
Yeah, and put your body through the hoop. I call it the hollow globe. Right? It's a globe. It's a globe, but it's hollow. And I call it the girl who fell in love with the moon. There's my moon. I'm in love with it. I'm so in love with it.
Love it. This is so great.
Let's see if I can show you my neatest foot hoop trick. Oh my God.
Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, she's 67. That's impressive.
Oops. And if you do this in your house,
I've broken so many things. That was nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you for everything. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and your joy and your cheerfulness.
Well, thanks for reaching out. When I saw you said you had a podcast for dance therapists, I thought, oh, quick, get on board.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now.